did we do this? How did we do that? And how did we know our audience would do this? Find out after the show.
Hi everybody, welcome to After the Show, Omnivent Inc.'s presentation of our trials and tribulations of the shows we do, how we do our creative moments, and how we get to the final result. This is my co-host, Jeff Keglovitz.
Hello.
And I'm Doug Mackey, and we're going to start talking about Night of Heroes tonight.
Night of Heroes.
I love Night of Heroes. I actually look forward to it every year.
It's our big showpiece.
I agree. And I love the fact that they trust us to come up with a cool idea. And this year, we even got a boxing bell out of it, which is pretty cool. Okay, so Night of Heroes is when St. Luke's Hospital celebrates their trauma team. The trauma team is in charge of all the major catastrophes that happen in Lehigh Valley.
So it's cool. It's like a celebration, and it's just a way to honor all the doctors. But it's really neat. They take two major accidents in people. Like this year, it was a girl. They found her folded up in the dashboard of her car. But it's about who just rescued her first, and then all the decisions they made, the ambulance, the doctors, the surgeries, the rehab people, and then one by one they bring up all these people, and I'm almost getting a little misty-eyed. You almost cry when you see how many people it took just to bring one life back, and it's really amazing.
I agree.
It's one of those shows we're proud to do.
I agree. And you know what? You said that perfectly, because I agree with that 100%. Well, anyway, we've been doing Night of Heroes for a couple of years now. And our point of contact, Jennifer Gorell, she handed us a conundrum.
Yeah, so usually she has a theme for us, because this is an annual show and there's a different theme every year.
And we had the pandemic.
Yeah, now here's the thing, so we haven't done the show for 4 years.
4 years.
And, let's just spoil it. We said, it's coming back,
Well,
we scratched our heads for a theme, what's this big bam moment where we're going to say we're back?
And that was what she came to us with. She said, we need to say something that we're back, because we are. We haven't done the show in 4 years, and everyone's excited to be here, but we need to do something big. And she said, so what do you got? And I remember her saying it. She said it directly to me. Yeah. What do you got? And I said, you got to give me 5 minutes. I can't just wing that one. So anyway, as Omnivent always does, we go back to our place at Sullivan Trail and we start discussing it. And Jeff and I share an office, so we locked the door and kicked everybody out.
Yeah.
And
then we sat there for 5 minutes in silence. And
correct. So we started talking, and I mentioned to you that, last night I watched Rocky. And I don't really watch movies. I watch them in fast forward. You watch pieces.
It's good to fall asleep to, right?
Agreed. And I'm watching a bit of Rocky. Then, the next night it was Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. And I said, that's a great comeback story. And I started batting it around. I'm like, we could call it Docky. And what did you say? No,
yeah. Well,
that was the best part.
But the idea was there, and Docky, the idea of Rocky was great, but then I was like, well, it's trauma and people are healing. It can't be all about people punching each other.
Correct.
So then I was just thinking general sports comebacks, but all I could think of was the Miracle on Ice. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be weird if everyone's wearing hockey helmets. So Rocky was right, but we were like, okay, it's gonna be comebacks in general.
Agreed.
But it's the story of St. Luke's.
Correct.
So we
everybody hated Docky. Jennifer hated it. You hated it. Everybody hated it. And I was bummed out because I really liked it.
I know. They're too cheesy, but we are inherently cheesy people.
Okay, so how do we translate boxing into a show? And we started really bantering it. And the one thing that came out first, because I remember suggesting, because it was one gag I could think of was the microphone from the ceiling. I was like, every boxing match I've ever seen, you have the mic come down, ladies and gentlemen, you got to have that.
Yeah, so I think we should mention the first key player, Dr. James Sapola.
Yes, Dr. James Sapola, the
He's
star
the head of the
Docu.
trauma unit. Yeah, head of the trauma unit. And he always likes to make a big entrance. I think
True
our
that.
last one, 4 years ago, we had all these panels on stage. And what was it? The stage went dark. One panel came down. He like crawled through a hole.
That's correct. I
This
had to
was
be there to
4
help
years
him.
ago. We were on the phone with him for like the first meeting about this year's show. And all he did was rave about like, oh my God,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I loved crawling through that hole and like appearing.
Why? I don't know. And he did it in
know.
a tuxedo. Don't
Yes.
forget that.
But anyway, so he loves big entrances. Like most events, they start and it's someone just kind of tapping on the phone. Is this on? Could everyone please? Could you
Yeah.
please take your seats? It's very, We're like, all right, how can we do this big, bam opening?
Correct.
And I think I kind of like sat you down. I'm like, man, we could just turn the lights down and just have this video that starts like with rumbling noise.
Correct.
And, like we wouldn't have to tell anyone to sit down. We'd be like, man, this is happening now. At that point, it went from, okay, we said no to Docu, but yeah, it's got to be a Rocky film, right?
That's right. We got to docky it up.
It's one of those iconic films. The jogging, staircase, climb,
Yep.
Adrian.
Right, down in Philly,
all
right?
that,
And it's
yeah.
also a very Pennsylvania story.
That's true,
Because Rocky
yeah.
is a Philadelphia story.
Yeah.
And, we're close enough that everybody here is an Eagles or Phillies fan. First of all,
Yeah.
here's the part that's the weirdest. We had to get Dr. Sapola to want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, Dr. Sapola is an easy fellow. He said, absolutely, he's in. But what happens is the doctor is sitting there and he's getting bummed out by all the news. And Jeff came up with this technique where the video is in front of you, but it's projected onto glass behind us.
I want it to look like he's kind of like sitting in an apartment, or it ended up being, like a doctor's office late at night.
Your film background
Yeah.
shines through this whole thing.
Yeah.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. You're a genius because as much as I have the ideas of these things, your gift is taking ideas and turning them into things. I mean, you could see it in Omnivent commercials all the time, but your skill in this film is impeccable, and everyone believes that. I believe it. Everyone believes
Thank
it.
you.
And there you go. That's for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it officially so that you understand.
Well, it's funny, because we had to rush this video, but also, very much, it's Rocky. It had to look cinematic.
Exactly.
So
I
needed-
agree with you.
Yeah.
That was so important that it felt big because we had a whole audience who were going to
That's
have
true,
to sit
yeah.
through, what was it, 4 minutes? They got to
Yeah.
sit through 4 minutes.
and a
And
half
you got to
minutes.
keep them engaged for 4 minutes. So the doctor was in, and we knew we had a scheduled shooting time with him. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Anderson, who is the CEO of St. Luke's, wants to be involved.
We don't know Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, I've never met him.
But I quickly, overnight, so I rewrite this script, and I'm trying to find ways to make him look cool, because I'm just thinking, the owner of St. Luke's is gonna kind of come here and be like, yeah, man, we got this. But
He was not that.
what we learned
all.
really quickly is he is just hilarious to be around. He is a
Yes.
joker.
He's a lot of fun.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good thing he's not. He's a good physician, but this isn't his thing. The high five.
And I guess what I want to say is it made the video better. Way better.
I agree. His scene,
Yeah.
the best part of his scene is it feels like he's about to break down.
St. Luke's and our trauma program has a bright future. So bright, I gotta wear shades.
He's like, boo! And then you
Yeah.
did that whole thing. When I saw that, I was blown away. I thought that was
Yeah.
awesome.
But what was neat, so that happened. we had this whole thing, I had this idea of jogging through the streets. I think actually that was a Jennifer Grell email. Let me rewind a second. So we got this email from Jennifer Grell, and they said, okay, we're going to send you a picture of all these doctors that we've added over the years and campuses. That was it. That was the email. And I was like, I'm not sure what to do with this information. But then I was like, do they want just like a slideshow? But then I was like, well, the doctor's got to jog through the streets of,
That's true.
Bethlehem. And I'm like,
Right, we wanted to show off Bethlehem.
And I'm like, what if he's jogging past all of their accomplishments of the past 4 years?
Agreed.
So we only had a few days to shoot this, so we went and built a set for the 2 shots I knew would be hard to do. Then we also built a whole boxing gym
That's true.
for what amounts to like 30 seconds in the film, but it mattered. It had to look like a boxing gym.
Let's discuss the lowest moment in film history.
What's that?
I played Mickey. Come on, Ducky!
But you played him
gotta
so
do it.
well.
I know.
You gotta hit that bag. They're brutal out there. Hit harder, or you're gonna have to do a sit-up for every St. Luke's location.
Because you had the hat, you had the sweater and everything, but you brought your ear pod from your phone, and you're like Mick has that thing, and I had totally
That's
forgotten
right.
that he has a hearing aid.
That's right.
And even then, you're like, I'm just gonna put in like this one ear pod, and I was like, what's he doing? But you sat there, you put in that thing, you squinted, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Mick.
I am Mickey.
The trauma team needs to hear you. St. Luke!
So then the denouement is the doctor obviously runs over to Steel Stacks. And runs to the elevator in his gym clothes and boxing gloves.
Yep.
But we have to get him into a tux to get
Oh, yeah.
upstairs for the opening of the show. The funnier part is most of those clothes were from the back of my car. They weren't his at all.
Yeah, no.
Because all he had was his gym clothes and his tux.
Mm-hmm.
So we're throwing these clothes in the air, and it's just kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
And the wink,
yeah.
which we added a
Yes,
little.
Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Ding.
It was awesome. And then, of course, that's the blackout before the doctor gets the microphone and introduces them. So in our next episode, we're going to talk about the actual show Night of Heroes. So now you have this great film, but it has to go to a great show. So, and like we said, we're doing docu, so everything's got to be reflective of that. So in our next episode, we'll absolutely talk about the rest of the show. But in conclusion on the film, brilliant piece of work.
Yeah, great success. I think early
Wonderful.
on, when I was writing, I'm like, okay, we got to get everyone to like cheer 3 times and laugh 3 times. And
Well said.
it exceeded our wildest expectations.
Let's do this.
Hit harder, or you're gonna have to do a sit-up for every St. Luke's location.
We solved our own problem of how do we take the Rocky story and it becomes a St. Luke story. And it was really neat, just piece by piece, how everything just really came together and it
Agreed.
became Docky, even though it's not called Docky,
But-
it's called The Comeback, but
but
it's Docky.
We ended up in Docky t-shirts at the end, so
Yes,
it officially
it's Docky.
became Docky
Yeah.
after the fact.